those of you who got an invite, welcome to Nerd Prom.
No matter where in the world you are, we're all Nerds International. With the hyphen.
We would like to thank our Patreon show's supporters: Morgan Ellis, Victoria Kirk, Bubba Snap, Want Some Beats, Trilin Morwin, Stefan Dragonspawn, and Jimmy Fett. Here's to you. Warning. This broadcast does contain foul language. If this is something that can or will offend you, you have the option to turn it off now. Welcome to the Gathering of Dorks podcast. You've entered a realm of profanity, bodily functions, alcohol, gaming, and entertainment. If this is your first time joining us, thank you. Embrace yourself. Welcome back for our 70th episode. I'm Jamie, and not with me again is Blaine, but I did talk to him yesterday. He's actually in somewhat civilization of Alaska, if there is such a thing. But joining me again is Will. What's up, Willard?
Oh, glorious leader, how art thou?
I'm. It's not bad for a Monday. So yeah, moving on. Fuck off. Lyndon, what's up, you fucking silverback?
My blood pressure.
My cholesterol.
Frank, you're not gonna be last. Hell no, our guests are last. What's up, Frank?
Oh, nothing.
And
What's
joining
up with
us. Hi.
That's why you're normally last, Frank.
Yeah, that's why you're last. You fuck up the whole rotation.
Let's start a conversation in the middle of introductions.
Yeah.
Well, geez, I was just trying to be polite. He asked me how I was doing. I figured I'd ask him. God damn.
Yeah, get off his ass, guys. Come on.
And joining us as a fresh, new U.S. citizen, Eric Lamoureux. What's up, dude?
It's going all right. How about you guys?
We're all fine. Sorry for the delay. And speaking of delays,
yeah,
joining us as well over there, who can't seem to get his camera working, is Stefan Dragonspawn. What's up, man? Uh-oh.
Is he even there?
Still having problems. It's that fucking Canadian internet, dude. I'm telling you.
There you go away. I'm there now. I'm a little shy.
Oh, there he is. Okay.
Oh, there you are. I could hear you. Did you get out? Here you go.
Did you get out? Was it because of the hoose?
I'm all out.
Willard, in Blaine's absence once again, contact info, please.
Oh, contact info. Contact info is not... There it is. You can contact us at contact us on Twitter at capital TGOD, lowercase works. You can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/all capitals TGOD capital orcs. Also, be sure to join us on the Nerds-International Plus community. There you will find updates for when we will be doing any live streams on our Twitch channel, which is at twitch.tv/TG lowercase TGOD orcs. Be sure to leave us an iTunes review, please. I don't even think we've had any in forever.
Been a little while.
Because of tens of listeners. Get over to Patreon, patreon.com/TGOD org, and help support the show. You can find a link to these and all that other bullshit in the show notes.
And don't forget the email address at thegatheringofdorks@gmail.com.
Okay, you know what? I'm going to edit your notes and put that in that paragraph.
Nope, that's why I still do it. It's fucked with Blaine since like the very first episode, and that's why I leave it like that, because it fucks you people up.
You can email us at thegatheringofdorks@gmail.com. You can find us on Twitter at TGO.
Oh, yeah. Hey,
Okay.
guess what? Let's get into what's happening. The argument begins. All right.
Just have an adult conversation, man.
Just have an adult conversation about it, and everything will be just fine. Okay, so latest news. Again, I talked to Blaine yesterday. He's actually in Civilization, so hopefully at some point in time. Actually, he did tell me he should be back around the 4th of July, so we have to make sure that we get a live stream while Blaine's out here to get him back on again.
Yeah, nobody cares. Moving on.
The convention. Bum, bum, bum. Horrible failure. The Kickstart sucked. I mean, it sucked bad. Thanks for the few of you that tried to make it happen, but it didn't happen. So, talking over with Blaine, looking at where we came up short, what we're going to do is we're going to try for 2017. We're just going to do a one-day event. just a one-day event. Start ultra small and work our way up from there. So if you haven't checked it out yet, make sure to look for Conclave Convention on Facebook, and I'll update as that comes out. So we already had a round of about with these three silly buttholes over here. Go ahead, wait, I'll tell you when to come in, honey. Go on. Yeah, my daughter's ready to come in here. She's like, oh, you're doing your show. Eric, go ahead and take a minute if you would, and go ahead and introduce yourself. And tell us all about you and what you do.
Oh boy. Well, I'm Eric Lamoureux. Some of you may recognize me from the Wildeye podcast. I started a few months ago. Met Jamie through Fantasy Grounds. He was running some Deadlands Noir and one of the organizers over at FGCon, so got it hooked up with some gift certificates.
Hell yeah.
I like that a lot. So I had the Beasts and Barbarians live play, actual play. We concluded that campaign back in April. Now we're just running some one-shots. We've got some Forget About It on there and some Deadlands. Pedro Must Die.
I'm so still pissed. Lyndon, Jesus fucking Christ. I'm still pretty pissed I didn't get to make that. Okay, I'm sorry. I have to interrupt you real quick. Come on in, you guys. As I told everybody, my kids are here for the summer. Come here and say hi to everybody. Say hi.
Hi.
They can't see you. They can see Shayla. There's Seth. So here's everybody that's watching us right now. Say hi to them.
Hi.
Go get your dad a beer.
Yeah. All right. Go on out now. I'll call you back later. Go play in the freeway. Bye, honey.
Freeway.
Okay. Go ahead. Sorry, Eric. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I mean that's pretty much it. We're kind of on break right now. We're running a playtest for a new product for Just Insert Imagination for Savage Worlds. So too early to make any announcement, but maybe at a later time you can invite me again and we can talk about it.
Awesome. And other than that, be sure to check out Eric's YouTube channel too, because you like to get on there and do little how-tos for Fantasy Grounds and stuff, especially Savage Worlds. They're very informative. They help out. I got on there a couple times like, fuck, I didn't know that. So make sure to check out.
If you're using
channel.
Fantasy Grounds, yeah. Some quick 5-7 minutes videos and you can learn a couple tricks.
So Mr. Dragonspawn over there, hiding behind the picture
So
of
if I watch his
dragon.
videos and still fuck up, I can start blaming him now, right?
Oh, yeah. Well, blame him anyway.
There you go. There you go.
So, Mr. Dragonspawn over there, if you would, take a minute to tell us a little bit about yourself.
A minute. That's 60 seconds.
Starting now. All right. Very informative. He might still be oh, there he is. What?
There he is. Well, thank you for having me on the show. Really great to be here with you primitive screwheads. And yeah, I've been gaming for a long time. I'm almost 50, so I've been gaming since the old D&D. Jeez. Hello?
Yeah, we're hearing you. Lyndon's timing you.
All right. Okay. It goes mute by itself sometimes. Anyway, I've been gaming a long time, since the old D&D Red Box, so early 80s. And,
30 seconds.
Yep. And have played through the different versions of D&D from, AD&D, 3, 3.5, even a little bit of 4th, unfortunately, but dropped that pretty quick. And tried, Rifts, the Palladium system, and, tried quite a few things. So, variety of experience.
Hey, just in under a minute. We're cutting you off.
All right, cool.
Way to go, Lyndon. Okay.
Screw you all.
Thank you. See, there you go. Moving forward here, I did open up a new Patreon level for one-shot gamers. We already got a couple people to sign up. Thank you very much for that. There's 3 slots left. What we're going to do is get on once a month and just do a random one-shot. You show up, I give you pre-gens. It could be a random system. It could be anything. And we just sit down, get drunk, and we have a good time. So get over to our Patreon page and check that out and sign up if you want to play. Willard, new Twitter followers.
Yeah, we have a couple. Perry Chalmers.
Yeah, fuck that guy.
Yeah, who that fucking guy is. Moving on. I don't even know why.
Another fucking Canadian.
Game retweets. World of Farland. Mark Adelcock. Of Mage and Mimics. Sinlay produced. Scott W. Bang! Fine! Stefan Gauthier. Jim
Oh, he's a cocksucker.
Sharp, please.
He happens to be on the call.
Mythic Makings. Pierre Drew. Perrier Drew. Guy.
I'm saying another fucking Canadian.
Kevin Jackal Johnston. That's a hell of a name.
That's my porno name.
That guy sounds like he lives in the mountains. Third in remission.
Yeah, I think he just shot at me last week.
Yeah,
Pete on Terrain. Dark Mist Hollow. Kirk Lassard. Polygonine.
Lassard.
You're Lassard. Your face is Lassard. Viva Le Pedros. John Mark Grobe with a hyphen. Dan McLaughlin with a bunch of weird lines through his name. Alan Bray.
Face has weird lines in it.
It does. Alan Bray. Margot's Freedom Most Settled. Shut up. Everybody loves.
Raymond?
Everybody loves. It's just everybody loves. And then the next name would be Lloyd McVeigh. So I guess everybody loves, Lloyd McVeigh. The second.
Yeah.
And Sarah Smith.
All right, we'll blow through these real quick. You can find me on Twitter at jpearson71. If you want to follow Blaine, it's at Quad of Valor. Will's at Willard the Dork. Frank at Frank Moto. Lyndon is at Silverback, who just got shot. And I'm not sure if Eric and Stefan use Twitter or not.
No,
I do. I do it. Stefan Gauthier.
What? What'd you call me?
Yes, exactly. You're such a Gauthier.
Yes. And finally, I just want to pimp out one of the other shows in the network. The newest comer, Eli Kurtz. Go check out his YouTube live play of the Blackwood Codex, More Savage Worlds. All right, you guys grab your beers, and let's go ahead and let's start arguing about stuff. Oh, yeah, I know that's going to be happening a lot.
Okay, now music over?
Yeah, go ahead.
I just want to throw it out there to everybody listening. Fuck you if you give a shit about the fucking wind tunnel noises. I'm in my garage in Central California. It is fucking hot, so I got a swamp cooler sitting next to me.
Guys, don't let him flee. That's not his garage. That is his house.
His outhouse.
He's currently in his living room.
Oh, no, as Stefan
With
would
a
call
motorcycle.
as Stefan would call it, it's his outhouse.
That's his outhouse.
Outhouse.
Who are you?
Okay, let's go ahead and Will, this is something I wanted to bring this up. Oh, the first suggestion we had for this show was by Eric, which is don't listen to Perry Chalmers. So I wanted to make sure that is a important topic of this show. But moving on, Willard, something that you said we should actually bring up on the show, and I thought it was a really good idea, is a few weeks ago, whenever it was, I started that thread on Google Plus on the Nerds International community about how it just seems like no matter what, me personally, I cannot get away from Dungeons and Dragons, no matter what I try. I don't know if it's
the 800-pound gorilla.
Oh,
Fuck
Lyndon's only about 400. No, but the points that I brought up in that is it's one of the things that happened is, as our listeners know, we started that Icewind Dale and D&D 5e, and Will was like, okay, well, I know you guys like Savage Worlds and stuff, so let's port it over to that. And to me, it instantly lost all Forgotten Realms and all Dungeons and Dragons feel. It almost made me want to go back to it. Now you brought up a few points on that too, Will. You want to touch on that a little bit?
Well, first and foremost, I don't think that the role playing lost its edge. I think that everybody played the characters in the 5e rules just the same as they did when we ported over that session of Savage Worlds, but it just didn't feel like D&D. It just did not feel like we were in Faerun. It did not feel like we were playing a Dungeons & Dragons campaign, and I'm just like, you know what? I'm not getting what I wanted out of this. Fuck it.
Well, to be perfectly honest, you weren't playing a Dungeons & Dragons campaign at that point.
Well, it was a Dungeons & Dragons setting is what I mean, but it wasn't the rule set, which is D20.
Yeah, well, no, the way I see it is, if you want to play Forgotten Realms and Faerun and all that, everything that makes it Forgotten Realms is fluff. You
Well,
can
yeah.
play it in Savage Worlds, but it's just the fluff.
But that was the thing, for some reason, to me, at least when I played it, it just didn't feel like even the setting. I don't know. It felt like I just went into a Savage Worlds game.
Mark,
What
can
it
you
really-
put your
what it felt
finger
like
on
to-
it?
Go ahead.
Can you put your finger on what didn't What
What
did
I
you
was- what
feel
I-
right about it?
What I was gonna say is, it was kind of like this to me. You've been doing something for so long, and then you switch to some. I've been drinking Coors forever.
I'm sorry.
Right? I know. And then I go and pick up a case of Bud Light, and I'm drinking that, and I go, man, it's not the same. It doesn't feel right, and that's what it was. It just didn't feel right.
And you were going to say something. You were going to add to it there, Stefan. What'd you have?
Well, sometimes when you do a conversion of, let's say, from one system to another, it doesn't really matter which one. You have to try to get the flavor of, let's say, the setting, not try to just translate rules for rules. Like, oh, okay, I need to find a rule for this spell or this edge. You have to leave that aside and just try to get the flavor you're going to, that you're going for.
Well, that's what I had wondered is when I was playing it, is it because, like Will's saying, is it because I just had that old, for lack of better words, flavor in my mouth, and as soon as we took it over to Savage Worlds, it was like, ugh, it's just not right.
Yeah. Could it be also part, like you're not as familiar with Savage Worlds as you are with the D20?
No, I was more than familiar with it. I mean, when questions were asked during sessions and stuff, I had most of the answers, you know.
You know, that may have been a big part of it, though. It's maybe not familiarity, but it's could be just the simple fact of you are more concentrating on the system instead of the setting.
Yeah.
You switch over to Savage Worlds, you know Savage Worlds, but everybody else didn't really know it that well, so it could be more of your conscious mind is thinking about the system, and you guys weren't really thinking about the setting.
Look, it's like Blaine said, and I think, Jamie, you mentioned it in the Google thread. D&D is in our blood. There's no way. It's not just that Icewind Dale setting. It's everything. We could go a year without playing D&D. Eventually, one of us will go, hey, let's play some D&D. It's in our blood. It's a childhood thing. It's the first system that at least I know the three of us, even Frank, started with D&D. So it's just something it's primal. It goes back. It's like drinking milk, like a glass of milk, if you will. It just takes you back.
Everyone has heard of D&D. Even we tell people, I play role-playing games.
People in Canada know about D&D?
The fuck you say?
Like, I did live pretty close to the border, so in Wisconsin. So.
It's called
We have our-
Maple and Beavers.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Wisconsin's just Canada South.
I've known so many people, though, that I think,
People
Eric,
have
you
heard
may
about
be
it.
one of them, that you started playing Savage Worlds and, like, never looked back.
I wouldn't say that. It's my go-to system now, but I still play some 5e. I play Cypher System, Gumshoe, even Powered by the Apocalypse games. So,
But do you play a lot of D&D at all, or like if somebody says, "Hey, dude, let's play some D&D," are you kind of like, I'd rather not?
I kind of like 5e. I don't have a problem with it. To me, if you want to play in a medieval fantasy setting, if you want to play D&D, just play D&D. Don't try to adapt it to other settings. Nothing does D&D better than D&D, I think. If that's what you want to play.
You know what? Honestly, I couldn't have said it better myself. You know, Ant told me as well. His go-to systems when it comes to like what you said was for medieval fantasy is either Dungeons and Dragons or Warhammer. And why try to make something out of it that it's not? And why to try to force something in there that's not meant to be there?
For me, the heartbreak that happens for me is because obviously me all of a sudden having this fucking huge boner for Savage Worlds as of the last year or so is, I know, huge boner, right? Role play.
One of us.
Is that there's still a part of me that goes, I kind of want to play D&D, but then I start thinking about, but there's always 11th level, and I don't want to take 3 weekends to finish this combat. Even 5th edition is still guilty of it. It's not as bad as like 3rd or 4th, I get it, but it still has that guilty side to it, and it just, I don't know, I mean, especially probably Stefan and Eric, if you guys are anything like most people I know that play Savage Worlds exclusively now, anything else you play, you sit there and think to yourself, this would be a lot faster in Savage Worlds.
I compare it a lot, to that. Although sometimes when I went to Gen Con a couple years ago, 5Ed was just coming out. They had the player's guide. And, I'd like to get back into it. 3.5, and then Pathfinder didn't do it for me. I tried with my friend's campaign, and it's just like Mathfinder, the quest for stuff.
Exactly.
You know, if you don't have the magic items, well, you can't beat the next monster, and you have to be more higher level. Savage Worlds, you can go without gaining a magic item, and not.
We touched on this with Perry Chalmers and who was the other guy?
Yes.
On that, we touched briefly on that D&D is all about the +5 ring of protection.
Yeah.
No, I would disagree.
Maybe not Fifth Ed. I don't know. I haven't played it, but I've listened to your guys' live casts, and it's giving me more of a taste of maybe try it out.
See, I don't know about the speed, because the half dozen times I played 5e, it plays really fast to me. I don't think speed is an issue with it. If you go back to 3.5, then it slows down.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I mean, I gotta throw in my voice on that one, because I broke my cherry on 3.5. I still love the system, but for me, it's like, you're talking about it's all about getting the next magic item and stuff like that. I remember, the main characters that we played. We looking out for magic items and stuff like that. But it's with my character, with my dwarf, it was the first real good magic weapon that he got was Great Axe of Fireburst, and I just incorporated that into the character himself. From that point on, every weapon he ever had did fire damage, because that was just he just had an affinity for it. That's what he wanted. That's how he felt. And it just, the quest for magic items, but you incorporated it into the actual play, into the characters. Our magic items, the majority of them were self-made.
Let me piggyback you right there, Lyndon, because you guys that play D&D, that play Savage Worlds, you listen to D&D podcasts, and I understand it. There's probably a bunch of groups left and right. I get it. But when it comes to us, we're not like that. Go ahead. Find what you need. For example, Horde of the Dragon Queen, Arnold. Whenever Cantron died, he took a sword and used it. I don't think there was anything special about that sword, other than it was Cantron's sword. Jamie, still as the DM, gave me a +1 longsword later on, and I never used it. I don't believe if I did, I don't remember, but I used Cantron's sword still, because it was a role-playing aspect. When it comes to, as a matter of fact, I mentioned this on the podcast I was talking about a second ago. Right now, that party, which hopefully we might get back to, and we'll talk about that later, has a slew of items that they're not even using because they don't care about that. They're caring about the goal and not getting this shit identified and using it. They're just caring about getting to and killing Rezmir. And that's the end of it. So I guess it just depends on the people you're with.
Now, Frank,
to me.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh yeah. Well, to me, it's funny because unlike most people, even though I started like in the mid '80s, I didn't start with D&D at all. And then it was around 2005, 2006. I'm like, oh, everybody's talking about D&D. Maybe I should look into that game and see what the fuss is all about. And I don't know, to me, it was a big culture shock. All the stuff that you guys say you don't do in your group, all the munchkin and all that stuff, that was a culture that I wasn't ready for, that I wasn't aware of until I started delving into D&D. And so it's weird that, okay, you guys say you don't do that stuff, but to me that culture didn't exist until I met D&D players, maybe because it's a larger pool of players.
Well,
so
the biggest thing I think that stemmed from is because 3rd edition came out and it allowed for that, where you take it back to 2nd edition especially, is you were minimal on how much you could really quote unquote spec out your character. You had your weapon proficiencies and non-weapon proficiencies, and they were still very class-based, where 3.5 said, you know what, everybody should be able to do a little of everything. And then that's when everybody tried to start finding their sweet spots on saying, oh, well, I'm a ranger, so I got a 9,000 dex, but look at my charisma, it's a -5. Because it works. And that's where a lot of that shit really started, I think, was 3rd edition, is it created the fucking munchkin.
with all the splat books that came out, that didn't help. Lots of, I want
Oh.
this edge, I want this prestige class, I
No.
want this new state.
Oh, I have to agree. That shit got annoying.
And,
the ooh shiny.
but the thing is, I want to really get across here is I don't want to do another Jamie bashing D&D. It's just, it was very odd to me to think that every now and again Will had been talking to me about D&D, and I'm like, there's still a part of me that goes, man, I kind of want to play that. So,
Yeah.
I don't know.
It'll be a
It's
while,
bad
Jamie. So
system.
by the time we play it, you're going to be going, fuck, can we play some fucking D&D already?
It might be.
No, it's like I don't like Pathfinder, but I'm not saying it's a bad system because I've got friends who played nothing but and they love it. And they have long-going campaigns. That's fine for them. They're having fun. So
That's their fault.
yeah,
Honestly,
Neo Destiny put the worst thing that has happened to tabletops is the dump stat.
Yeah.
I don't know what it means. What is that?
That's like, well, I'm a fucking wizard. What the hell do I need strength for? So,
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay.
I'm
It's
the
all
fighter, or the fighter with charisma.
yeah,
I got a
exactly.
6 in my charisma.
Yeah, exactly. So, Frank, I don't know how much of an opinion you could really have on this being fairly new to it and probably never did a crossover or anything like that, I'm imagining, right? I don't want to leave you out because last time I left you out, you turned into a fucking asshole for the whole show.
Why did I do that?
Hey, I was
believe
able to
that.
mute my mic last episode. Frank went, I disagree. I was like, finally, someone else.
Hey, he was really chatty.
Unfortunately, I don't have a dog in this fight, so there's not much I can say.
But this is actually okay. So Eric, when we put this up, Eric had a few really good topics I really wanted to touch on. Starting with this one, and my opinion on this one is somewhat changed, but we'll go around the table here. When starting a new campaign, should the characters be created together in a session 0, or is it fine if everybody shows up with the character ready to go? I'm going to start with Will. Go.
It doesn't really matter to me. Now, is this from the perspective of the GM or from the perspective of the player?
No, anybody. The players. I mean, does the GM go make a character show up when we're going to go?
To me, that doesn't really matter one way or the other. On the GM side of it, I kind of might prefer it that you did it separately. That way players could have hinted agendas that come out later that may or may not come out during a group creation. But as a player, it's always fun to get together and just roll up and bullshit and drink beer and talk. So
Oh, kind of like what we're doing tonight.
exactly. So I'm kind of on the fence of it. If I'm a player, I like to show up with, Frank and Lyndon and Ant and Blaine and roll up our characters together and bullshit and call each other stupid and do all that type of shit. But as a GM, because Lyndon's the worst for it. He'll when we were playing Horde of the Drag Queen, he'll call me, say, "Hey, I'm thinking about this." All right. Well, what do you think? Okay, cool. All right. Well, I won't tell nobody else. It's awesome. So I guess you could say I'm on the fence about it. Either or, just depends on my perspective, where I'm at, what I'm doing.
Now, Eric, let me ask you, does this stem from the idea of we need to, quote unquote, build a party? Is that where that question kind of started from?
No, not really. Just it was, I think the Savage GM Hangout last week or a couple weeks ago at an episode about the campaign was discussed as a group, what it was going to be about, or in that case, I think it was a one shot, and a guy showed up and totally just dismissed what was talked about and went his own way with how he played his character. That totally didn't fit the campaign tone, what was discussed. So that made me wonder if it's really worth, wasting time on that stuff, and people just want to sit down, roll dice, and kill some stuff,
Lyndon, you came forward there. What do you got to say?
Well, my own personal opinion about it is just it's a simple factor of doesn't matter if you come together to create the characters or create them separately, as long as everybody is, agrees on or is aware of the concept of what game you want to run. As far as, okay, we're running just flat out adventurers who are just going to go out and dungeon raid, or we're doing evil characters that are looking for money and in whatever way possible. We're doing guys that are going out to save the fucking princess, whatever. As long as everybody understands the concept of the game, so it's not you're going in and it's DM is prepared for these adventures to go help these people, and 3 guys out of 5 show up with, oh, I would just slice their throat. You know, as long as you don't
Right,
have
but-
that aspect to it, then it doesn't really matter if you create them together or apart.
Yeah, but you need that session where you sit
Good
down with your players or as a group, or you can just be on the phone or an email or whatever.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. You need to have that. Either the GM states it, just comes out and says, okay, this is what we want to do, or just like the GM can back and forth calling between people. You know, what do you want to play? How do you want to play? It's not so much a what or a who, but a how. It's how do you want to play?
Wasn't it in the last episode of the Dorks where Jamie was talking about you guys were gonna play this, and then everybody was calling him, "Hey, I want to be that," you know.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it was
and that-
agreed, but you guys still said, "Fuck it, I want to do my own thing," right?
Well, that comes down to the GM having an adult conversation.
Oh fuck, we're not getting into that shit. No, but okay, but okay. Well, hold on. Let me go to Frank first. Being a newcomer, if okay, let's say your Call of Cthulhu game. Okay, now initially you came to us with pre-gens.
Mm-hmm.
What was your number one reason for doing that?
Because I asked you and you guys said, yeah, do pre-gens.
But you also, well,
Moving on.
well, no, but you also said that it was going to make it a hell of a lot easier for you as far as being able to, for lack of a better word, shoehorn it into the story too, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's if I control it, I know what the story's going, so I know how to make characters to fit the story. So,
Well, the thing about Cthulhu 2, Frank, that I think you understand, and me and Jamie, and well, especially Jamie after that last session, and Ant are understanding is rolling up characters in Cthulhu is kind of it's kind of a waste of time because you might as well just get a pre-gen because they're going to go insane and die anyway.
Yeah, it's kind of pissing in the wind with Cthulhu. I mean,
Right, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. I actually love it. It's like I'm waiting to go insane. It's fucking awesome. But
last time we played, we were doing it. We're like, no, my sanity's too high. I never miss it. Let's lower it. Now, let's say you were running. Let's say you were about to start up a D&D campaign, Frank.
okay.
Obviously, you wrapped your mind around the system rather fast because you're a moron. But no,
Well,
anyways,
D&D is pretty stupid proof, so.
no, I know. But anyways, the point I'm getting at is, if you were to sit back and run a game, would you look at the players and say, you guys roll up whatever, and we're going to start playing next week, and we're just going to go? Or do you think you need to go, okay, Jamie, what are you playing? Will, what are you playing? Eric, Stefan, Lyndon, what are you all playing?
I think it depends on the length of the session. Like, on a short session, I just don't see the investment needed that everyone needs to be together, needs to make. If you're in a long session, which I haven't done, that may be something more imperative that you do get everyone together to figure out what you're going to do. At least to me, that's what it seems like, a differentiation between a short and a long session. A short session, it's not going to matter anyways. You're not going to build enough story or character development anyways, so it doesn't matter.
I agree with that.
Yeah, I agree on that one too.
Here.
Long, well, easy on
Here's the Frank.
easy on the Mountain Dew, dude. You do have to walk back to the house. My opinion on it did kind of change. We said forever.
He's got a shot of possum in it.
Possum piss. For the longest time, I said, I don't care if everybody wants to play wizards, show up and play wizards. If everybody wants to play fucking rogues, show up and play rogues. We'll make it work. I started to really think about it more, and it's weird because I started looking at things more from a meta story sense, if that makes sense. Is I think a group should be built, in the word of every form of built, together. And it's because one of the things that we were notorious for back in the day that realistically started causing problems as soon as we tried doing modules was player agency. Player agency was defined in our day as, I'm a player, I have the agency to do whatever the living fuck I want to do. And as soon as we went to modules, that is what really created any type of friction, I guess you could say, because we were also used to having that 100% liberty of doing that. And if a GM or somebody's trying to run a module, well, now when you have 5, for lack of better words, free thinkers or whatever, that module just doesn't work. So I think if you build a party in the beginning and you think of it as a novel, because realistically that's what we're doing, is sitting around and telling stories.
Yeah, cooperative story.
Exactly, a cooperative story. I think that builds a better end goal, as opposed to I want to become a lich and I want to butt fuck everybody in the group. I'm going to be an assassin.
I did not try to butt fuck everybody in the group.
Oh no, you wanted to turn them into your undead servants. That's right.
No, not undead.
You say butt fuck as if it's a bad thing.
Oh, sorry, Stefan. Sorry.
I told you he was a cross between Palpatine and Raceland.
Right, but that's what I'm getting
Your
at.
face is crossed between that.
But that's what I'm saying. When you have that, for lack of better words, unlimited player agency, I mean, while it was fun while it lasted, key words, while it lasted. Now, that is where I go into agreeing on what Will's saying, and Lyndon, what you're saying too, is if there's a tone set ahead of time, and if we said, hey, we're all going to play good characters, let's be the good guy that helps the fucking homeless kid, great. But I still think that there needs to be a party built together in the beginning with the common end goal, instead of this 2 a.m. fucking email saying, guess what I want to do? He really likes his big toe.
I disagree with that, man, because, look, if Elter's whole goal was to take over the party, rule Baldur's Gate, make an undead army, and rule all of the Sword Coast, that's fine. Expect to die. And if you live, great. But when you make characters like that have nefarious goals, I don't want to use the term good or evil, just nefarious goals. Like Bane, for instance. The way those characters are, expect to be found out and expect for the rest of the party to probably kill you or somebody else to kill you, because that's just how it is.
Then what happens when you have 4 players that each have their own goals that are similar like that, but they all work against everybody else in the party?
Well, then, you just deal with that.
But that's what I'm saying. It becomes a very short-lived thing.
I gotta be honest, guys. We are tap dancing very closely into the whole solution of have an adult conversation. I don't want to get to that point again, but in all honesty, that's where we're coming back with this. I mean, as far as, nefarious goals and personal agendas and everything else like that, that really does come down to, if everybody's going to be coming in like that, then yeah, it's going to be a very short-lived campaign.
Well, not necessarily. That's not necessarily true. Evil and Torgi could have kept going if somebody felt like DMing it, but neither me or you felt like continuing it. Now, I want to ask this to Frank real quick. Frank, when you rolled up Valera, did you expect that she was going to die?
Gotta pee, keep it going.
What's that?
No.
What was that, Frank?
No.
You did not.
Honestly, and I think that goes to lack of experience.
Yeah,
with a
I
character
didn't know
like
what
that,
was
yeah.
happening. It literally was an on the spot thing when Lyndon's character did that I was like, well, she's not going to take that. I was not expecting her to do it, but yeah.
But you played your character true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
my next character, I might, like I said, I want to do a Blair-like character, but now that as Landon said, lack of experience, now that I have more experience, I have a more of an idea of what to do going into it.
And
right.
It goes into one of those things, from the Dragonlance books, it was a concept they used in those books, in the story itself. Evil always ends up turning on itself.
And I agree with that.
Exactly. So if you're creating characters, if you have a party where people have their own nefarious goals and personal agendas and don't have anything against stabbing people in the back, then yeah, I believe it's either going to be a short-lived campaign or it is going to be a revolving door of characters.
That's exactly what I was going to say, Lyndon. It would become a revolving door of characters.
Yeah, but if you create their characters together, maybe just instead. I've played evil campaigns like real quick when I was younger with D&D, and it always ended up with how fast can we kill the other players, and if you don't have a fighter, everyone gets dead, and you start up a new one. That was just the immature kind of, I think, D&D evil. Let's play evil for a while, but if you play a cohesive group, maybe that's where you might need to have the characters created together. Let's say in concert, That way, okay, what's your goal? Okay, how about we create characters that work together, even though we're all evil, for the same goal? Okay, we're all followers of Bane, or Talos, whatever it is, the god, or whatever the campaign could be. We have to topple the evil alliance of U.S. and Britain,
Fuck you.
and push our Nazi regime.
What?
You know.
Well,
Push it on
let
the
me
other
ask.
side.
I want to
Hold
pose
on.
this question. Hang on, Lyndon. I want to pose this question to our neighbors to the north here. One recently defected. How do you feel about making as a group or not making as a group? You could answer this in both senses. For a GM going, okay, it doesn't matter the system. Let's forget about alignment, but don't play characters that would be considered evil in a D&D sense. Okay, you can play goods, you can play neutrals, but you can't play evils. Is that right? Is that wrong? Is that limiting a player to what they want to do? And if their answer is, well, I want to play an evil character, doing it a group might spoil what they want to do.
I think Donnie Darko said it best when you can't just put people in base spectrums. Like, you could be an evil character and still go through an entire scenario and never die and never get anyone killed. That doesn't mean you can't do nefarious things, as Lyndon said.
Well, the
That's
thing
one
that I'm
thing
getting is before, there's been times that me and Jamie have done it. All right, we're going to start a new campaign of D&D. 3-5, just no evils. That's all I'm asking. No evils.
Right.
Anything else but no evils. Right, Jamie?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
that used to
I mean,
be
it's-
my go-to rule.
Well, that
Right.
would be part of the sort of session zero, almost like group contract kind of thing. Okay. this
Well,
is
why were you
the
limited?
GM. No, but sometimes you might have at least a GM maybe has an idea. He wants to have the players at least go along. So this is my idea of the campaign. I'd like to create you guys to create characters. At least go in that vein. Oh, but I want to play an evil ninja. Well, that's not the campaign we're sort of going into. But okay, if everyone wants to play that, then we have to discuss it. And everyone wants to have fun, GM included. It's not just pandering to the players either. So it's a big cooperative
Yeah,
effort.
I don't think it's limiting a player to say nobody's playing evil in this campaign. If I pitch a campaign idea of there's this big bad evil guy that you must defeat and that's what the campaign's going to be about, then
Yeah.
make a character that'll fit that campaign. Don't, if you want to do something on your own, well, I don't know, maybe I can run your game one-on-one, but that's not what the campaign's about.
And I think that's the biggest point I was trying to make. Oh, sorry, Lyndon, go ahead.
Well, no. I was gonna address what Frank was saying, as far as why couldn't an evil person, be into a situation like that.
Right.
You have to think of the extreme. We're playing a good. Okay, I am creating the righteous zealot paladin. If at any point in time that paladin discovers all you are is just a thief, you're going along with the party, you're not stealing from the group or nothing like that, but you're stealing from the tavern. You broke into this guy's room at the inn, whatever. You're doing things just kind of off to the side. All it takes is one time for that paladin to find that out, and you or he is going to be dead, because a righteous zealot paladin would consider it the moral duty that you will be arrested. If you do not comply, then you must be put to death.
And Neo666 put it really well in chat. He said, I mean, if a group plays that situation well, it can be really cool. But it is a very, very thin line between a really cool group dynamic and simply player versus player. And that's where we've been before.
Well, and on the flip side of that, going back to the evil character that we played in the past, there were two different incarnations that I played of my evil character, Elter. One of them was the one where it was, okay, he was evil behind everybody's back and trying to go around sneak and shit like that, and I had 1,000 whispered conversations with Jamie. The other one, we actually set up an evil campaign. We went into it saying, let's play an evil campaign. Okay, so that's the character. Whenever I used him, I set him up, basically like I said, he's a cross between Raceland from Dragonlance and Emperor Palpatine. Another one of the characters wanted to be an assassin. Another one of the characters was a Minotaur barbarian. who was just an absolute brute, and it all worked together really well because it wasn't everybody's vying for power. It worked out really well to where it just followed into a group dynamic. I pretty much took the head of, the leader type deal. Then we had our strong fighter, we had our assassin, and we just had the different dynamics, and it worked well because they weren't out against each other.
Well, the key to that, though, was Session 0 common goal.
Yeah.
Exactly. Work out a common goal that no one's working at cross purposes.
But back to the topic, that doesn't have to be done at Session 0 where they're created together. That could just be talked about at random times on a phone call, whenever, and you just create your character, bring it to Session 1.
Yeah.
Right, like for my Beasts and Barbarians campaign when I started it, we didn't have a Session 0. I just posted a series of blogs, and players read the blog and, okay, this is what the campaign's going to be about. That's what the framework's going to be about. But they already had their characters made. It was just a transition to a campaign. It reminds me of back in the day when I started. I mean, we had phones, but we didn't have smartphones, or I didn't have an email address. I didn't have the internet. Now we got all these tools where we can, communicate with each other. I have a forum. I have a newsletter. So that was mainly what my question was about. Is it really needed, or we can use all these tools like, texts and emails and blogs and forums instead of, because as we get older, it gets tougher to get together, right? To find the time where everybody can sit down and play. So do you want to waste 3 or 4 hours just for a Session 0 when you can do that with emails instead?
Well, I think Session 0 becomes more important. I mean, aside from setting the group dynamic and I guess the group morality compass or whatever, Session 0 becomes most important in a new system. In a new system, it's almost dire to do that, because if I were to go, here, Will, borrow my fucking Warhammer Fantasy Player's Guide and show up with a character, well, that's a lot of frustration, as opposed to everybody just getting together and the guy who knows the system going, okay, well, you need to do this first and then do this.
Well,
yeah, but that's a horse of a different color.
Azoth like that.
2 people at once. What?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Lyndon.
I was going to say that to me, that's a horse of a different color. That's learning a system. Okay, I know nothing about the system. How do I make a character? It's easier if you just, you show me. If you're like, whenever we did last year, whenever we were doing the new system every month, whenever we did Dragon Age, I fucking kept my nose in the book for a long time, and I figured it out. We came together for a Session 0 and created characters. And that really helps you learn the system, just learning, okay, this is where all these fucking numbers come from. That's different than saying, okay, we're going to play D&D 3.5. Everybody fucking knows how to create a character, D&D 3.5. Create a character, but this is the foundation for what we're wanting to do whenever we get together.
Oh, yeah. A horse of a different color, I agree. I'm just simply saying that is when a Session 0 is crucial.
Now, Will, Azoth.
I don't remember what I was going to say. Oh,
That's why I said Azoth.
Something along the lines of when I created Azoth, I don't think we were in a group. I just created him, and Azoth is kind of he's a greedy dick. But it worked.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the other stuff we're talking about as far as the individuality and all that, that's kind of a topic we've already talked about before, but
I'll tell you this. As far as me running anything, I'll never do a group create characters again, and I'll never tell you guys you can't be evil. And that's the end of it for me.
Yeah.
You play whatever the hell you want to play, and if it don't work out, nice knowing you.
Different strokes for different folks, I guess. Well, everybody seems to have actually somewhat different opinions on this one. I like this question, and Lyndon, you're going to like this question too, I think. Eric also said, should every piece of equipment a character carries be meticulous? Oh, actually, Frank, should meticulously be kept track of, or hand waving is acceptable?
Go ahead, Frank.
Go ahead, Frank. Eat the beef jerky and throw it on the ground, right?
Take a bite, throw it on the ground. You're the one who's mean about it. You're the only one worried about it.
Well, think of it from both sides of the spectrum, though, Frank. On either side of the screen. From a GM, do you think that players should do that? And as a player, do you think it's necessary?
I say hell yes. Yes. Every little
Again,
bit.
I think that's another short, long session issue. A short session, no.
Every little
Why?
eyelash, every ounce of guano, I want everything written down because I'm not playing D&D, I'm playing stock and inventory.
Yeah.
I work at the liquor store and I'm taking stock of everything that I have.
I think again, a short ish or a one shot. No, why are you wasting your time? Again,
Agreed.
I guess another long session. I guess it really depends on how serious you want to be about it.
So you're saying how true to, for lack of better words, how true to life or how much realism you want to have in it?
Yeah.
You know, that was something I actually heard on the GM Hangout, and I thought that they had a really good idea. But you got to have players willing to be able to just bite the bullet and say, I agree. And fuck
So when you
ammo.
say bag of holdings don't exist,
No.
you haven't
no.
conference. Deal with it.
Not when they were not when they were on this show, on their own show. If you can get player buy-in to have faith and trust in your GM to say, you're going to run out of ammo at a time that I feel is plot appropriate. You're going to run out of food when I feel it's plot appropriate. Don't put a hash mark every time you fire a fucking arrow. But when I...
Look, don't give me that power.
Oh, no, not Will. What was that, Stefan?
No, I mean, I find it the same way. I mean, if they're just regular adventurers, they have access to close locations to replenish. Yeah, fire as many arrows as you want. You get them back. You whatever. If you're stuck in the desert, you better count every little sip of water you're taking and every bite from those.
Or if you're
cheese
walking
and
in
bread,
a desert,
because
your drink
that's it.
died and one jackass is eating one piece of his turkey and throwing it on the ground because you didn't bring
Exactly.
any food.
Think about it like this. Think about if you're playing a game like our brother who has recently come and joined a real country, his Walking Dead poster behind him. If you're playing a game like that, you damn well better be keeping track of every single bullet, every single trading item, every single piece of weight
Well, I
you're
know,
carrying.
Resources would be
Long
important
Cthulhu.
then. Yes.
If we were playing along Cthulhu, I would make sure you guys had everything set up right. Because Cthulhu wants to pitfall you at any chance it gets. So that would make sense. But D&D, I don't know. Maybe because I haven't had as much experience with D&D. And we've only done the short sessions, I don't see a point to it.
Go ahead, Lyndon. I know you're just dying over there.
Okay, first off, to go into the D&D aspect of it, if you do not account for, especially for food, for one, you are literally in 5th edition, you are negating one of the background traits for, I believe it's like Explorer or something like that.
It's around page 137.
Yeah, don't tempt me. I'll go fucking get the book. Don't fucking tempt me.
139, dumbass.
But no, the trait, because each of the backgrounds you have a special trait or something like that, something you can do. One of those background traits says that you can feed yourself and up to 4 other people every day, as long as you're in an area that has, food and water. You don't have to worry about that.
Short session is the short session. Or are you going to sit there and worry about that?
No, a short session, I agree with you. If you're just doing
That's what
a
I'm saying,
couple
but a
sessions,
long
that's
session,
fine.
yes. I say a short
And-
session, no. Long session, yes.
And here's
Some
the
long
other.
sessions not. And if your
Well-
cleric can, sorry, Linda, go ahead.
Well, this is the other thing, and it kind of goes into what Neo said in there. Just use common sense. Like, you can't carry 40,000 gold pieces and walk like normal and like a normal dude in full armor without a bag of gold.
Off.
Same in Star Wars. You can't walk around carrying 4 heavy repeaters and walk down the street like it's okay. It's a pitfall we all fall into, especially in the fantasy settings
We have
where
that guy.
all of our currency is in gold.
I'm sorry, I have to interrupt because I was very proud that my daughter walked in and said, "Where's Oblivion? It's not in the laptop." There you go, honey.
Then you
But-
said Oblivion. Here's Skyrim. God, get with the ages.
Not on that laptop.
I've run a campaign where it's the characters were like 12th, 15th level, and of course the priest could just cast, Hero's Feast whenever they needed. They didn't need to nickel and dime, for food. They could be in the middle of the Underdark. Yeah, there's nothing but mushrooms that glow and they're poisonous. Well, Hero's Feast. There we go.
Okay, now going back to a problem that we used to have in 3.5, Jamie, and it's something you complained about a lot, DMing that, was the character wealth.
Mm-hmm.
You know, think about it from the level of how much gold would have been spent in rations, especially at early levels.
No,
All the expenditures, and for your argument on there, there is a quick rule in D&D. It was in 3.5 and it's still there in 5e. To where you could just say, okay, instead of keeping track of food, water, all that type of shit, what kind of lifestyle do you want to lead? It costs us per week.
Yeah, no, I get that, Saiva. This is the standpoint that I come from now. Maybe it's because, you know, like even Eric brought up earlier, we don't have as much time as we used to before. We've all said this a million times. I get it. But I'm also coming from this. Think of it this way. I don't know about you guys, but for me, anytime I see a motherfucker pull out a 6-shooter in a goddamn movie, I start counting every time that fucking trigger's pulled. Right? While there's a part of me that goes, that thing can't shoot 8 rounds, stupid. There's a cinematic.
There is 8-round revolvers. Smith & Wesson makes a 357.
Fine, 9. What the fuck ever. Listen to me,
Okay,
dickhead.
15 fucking shots.
Right. So either way, the point is, they keep it dramatically appropriate, and that's the side I come from now. Because while he's firing off all these fucking rounds, and you're sitting there going, Jesus fucking Christ. Well, guess what? When the guy's right in front of him, that's when he ran out of his ammo. It becomes dramatically appropriate, and that's the side I come from now. That I prefer that way.
Well, I mean,
Have you ever heard? Sorry, go ahead.
But I mean, just
Right.
getting into counting down arrows, counting down bullets, you know, shit like that. You know, to me, that really does come into the whole factor of keeping the people where they're supposed to be as far as wealth. And that all that type of shit, you know, we've said it 1,000 times with all these different systems. They're created with a balance. You go up against a monster, whether it be Savage Worlds, D&D, whatever. There's a you roll on this treasure chart. Okay, you get this because you defeated this monster, whatever. You get this stuff. Well, they factor in the fact of, say, 20% or whatever is expendable money. It's things you need to spend to take care of yourself.
Then why not just go as a GM? You know what? Right about now, or even as a player, take that player side and go. It would actually be pretty cool if I ran out of money right now, because then I'd have to go find myself, or maybe go rob that general store so I can get some food or something. I mean, why does each fucking nickel and dime have to be fucking nickel and dimed? I just don't see the need for it anymore.
It's only if it's, I think, plot appropriate at that point.
Exactly.
I mean, have you guys ever heard of a game called Feng Shui?
Nope.
No.
Must be fucking Canadian.
No, yeah, it is. Feng Shui, eh? No, it was a nice little game that had some mechanics where you can have multiple characters from different settings, a little bit in different times, fantasy, contemporary, whatever. And they had something where you had tricks and stuff like that were introduced, like you can mow through mooks, but one was about gun fu, basically. The character never runs out of bullets. He always has clips somewhere. So if he doesn't have a gun, while he's on the ground, there's one underneath the bag of cement, or underneath the kitchen counter, or whatever. There's a gun there. Bang, bang, bang. Keeps going. This is appropriate for that setting. It's like he always has something. But if it's appropriate, it's like, he faces the big bad guy. Click, click, click. No more bullets. Then he has to go fisticuffs with him. A bit like Dirty Harry and not Dirty Harry, but the Bruce Willis movie.
Oh, Die Hard.
Die Hard.
That's it, the Die Hard.
A true American movie.
Right,
What do they call it? Le Die Hard?
The Die Hard, eh? So he rows through all the mooks with guns, and when he faces the bad guy, sometimes like, no more bullets. So we have to. He doesn't just shoot him in the head. He has to actually be more dramatic.
Well, now, Lyndon, it sounds to me like big time, because Lyndon still says, like he even said earlier in this show, you still really like 3.5. And one of the arguments you had about 3.5 over 5e before was that there is a rule for everything. There is no gray area. It's all black and white. So is that why you have this mindset of every gold piece should be accounted for?
Well, to me, it almost seems like to use however you want to say it, but It almost seems like the difference between the UFC and professional wrestling. Professional wrestling, it's the entertainment of it. The UFC, it's the down and dirty, just, you're fucking doing it. You know what I mean?
The technique and important and everything.
Yeah, you're worrying about the specifics. You know, professional wrestling, it's more the entertainment. And to me, it's for me personally, it comes down to one of the aspects of it. You know, you think about your character and everything. Okay, think about their gear. What are you carrying right now? Well, you're close to your limit. So if you start carrying more, now you're going to be delayed. You know, you're going to be walking slower because you're carrying a heavy load now. It's more strenuous for you to carry this stuff. It's harder for you to fight whenever you have all this shit on you. You know, you can't swing a sword and block as easy. You know, it's all these factors come into that. It's not even there's a rule for it. You know, because I've never seen a rule for, okay, well, if you're under a heavy load, then you take this type of negative whenever you're fighting. I've never seen that.
Okay,
but to me, it just makes sense. And then you come into a situation of, well, you're sent out to retrieve X thing. Well, you get there, you go to retrieve it. Well, now this is actually exceeding what you can carry. Now you got to drag it back, and you're going at quarter pace all the way back.
But again, you said it best, and you being the type of role player that you are, even in this Deadlands game we're playing, which is now a fantasy game we're playing, you do have the mindset of being able to say, it only makes sense. Well, we don't need a fucking rule to tell us that. So it's like you're arguing against yourself in this one.
Well, no, to be perfectly honest, I don't actually agree with how Savage Worlds has done their load, how much you can carry type deal, because everything in there fucking weighs a ton, and you know your carrying capacity is a fucking feather. You know, to me that doesn't make sense. I don't think that is actually balanced out in any way. But I am a very logistics type of person. It's the way my mind works, and I actually get enjoyment from those types of things, from doing those things. It's why I love 3.5, because I am a logistics person.
Eric, you've stayed quiet throughout this whole one. What do you think? Fuck everyone. Click. Hang up.
Rage quit.
Like one of my friends say, screw that, I'm out of here.
Yep.
I think as far as equipment goes and all that is how much of your play time do you want to spend keeping track of all that stuff. I think Jamie said it before. We all play this to have a good time, to have good memories. And in my 30 years of gaming, I can't think of one exciting, fun, memorable moment where we spent time buying gear and counting how much gear we can carry. It's just not there. When you think back of your most memorable campaign or a scene in a campaign, it's about defeating a bad guy or overcoming an obstacle. It's not about, hey, remember that time, man, I spent 800 gold piece to buy that piece of gear? Man, that was awesome. You guys remember that? I'm not with Lyndon on that. I don't think it makes for fun gaming at all. I understand if you enjoy that part of it, but I don't want to play a fucking lemonade stand RPG. I want to play a real RPG. You know?
Well, you know, on
D&D
on that,
hopping.
I kind of agree with you, but on the same token, I kind of agree with Lyndon too. Like, you guys, all right, you're carrying 300 pounds of gear. Okay, well, whatever. Or what do you guys call it up there? Kilos, whatever the hell. But if you come across, you open up a chest and it's got 9,000 gold pieces. Okay, all right, guys. You can't carry 9,000 gold pieces on your back. Figure out a way. I mean, there has to be some common sense rule about it, but you could still fudge just to keep everything moving, like you're saying.
Even then,
Yeah,
how
but
hard
why
is it
do
to
you
say?
9,000 piece?
How hard is it to say? Okay, then we spend the next 3 days going from here to the town, here to the town, here to the town. It's like, to me, I look at that as all just fucking absolute time waste shit.
Well, on that level, that really does come down to what's going on around it. Right there, to me, I just got the feeling that the world has stopped around you retrieving the treasure.
Well, if there's somebody out hunting your ass, well, then yeah, make it worthwhile. But if you guys said, well, we're going to go back to town, we're going to buy a horse and a wagon, and then we're going to come back, and then the DM or GM goes, oh, dun, 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 the gold's gone, you have to go find it. Well, then now it serves a purpose. But if it's just, how are you going to carry that? Yeah, it's a fucking waste of time.
Well, recently in one of my story arcs, towards the end of the arc, characters discovered that they had to go towards the mountains to find the final MacGuffin. So they...
Oh, MacGuffin.
Exactly. So they didn't know exactly what they were going
Be
to
a Canadian term.
Yeah. No, but they were going to... They bought a lot of gear, or at least acquired a lot of gear. They're part of an organization. They didn't have to spend the money or whatever. They got extra horses, gear, mountaineering gear, lots of stuff that's really heavy. Okay, they find where they have to go, and they realize, no, they don't have to actually climb, but they have to go deeper into the mine. Well, that's when I asked them at that time, okay, how much are you going to, that stuff are you going to carry? I need to know now, because if something jumps on you and you're surprised, some of this encumbrance will come into effect, and that's when the penalties come in. And I was using Savage Rolls, which sometimes hand waves some of the encumbrance, but this time I was going to ask them literally, like, okay, how much are you carrying? Because I'm going to apply it, and if you take an action at least to drop your gear, then you don't have the penalty, but let me know what you're doing. And they decided, okay, we'll leave some of the gear here and we'll keep going, and okay, fine. So I did sort of impose some realism. Okay, you have the gear, but do you carry it or do you just leave it around? Let me know. So
I'd like to go back
without nickel diming the whole pound and ounces or kilograms and grams.
I'd like to go back to Jamie just real quick. What you said about
I know you would.
I'd come on Jamie's back anytime, but
Word.
word. But when you talk about Jamie about we're really gonna talk, we gotta go to town, get a wagon. It just depends on what the quest is. But you remember in the film Hobbit. The Hobbit, whenever they defeated the trolls, well, actually Gandalf did it, but they find the troll cave, and there's all this treasure in there, and they kind of just end up walking away with a couple of swords and maybe a handful of treasure, because there's no way those dwarves could carry everything that was in that hoard.
Right.
So
you don't have to. Yeah.
Right, and they don't have to because they're on a mission, right? So what's the point of the dwarves going, well, we're on a mission, but this is a lot of gold. We can't just leave it here, so we're going to go back to
the dwarves.
Right, and we're going to go back to wherever, the Shire. We're going to rent a freaking wagon. We're going to come back. We're going to haul this all back to the Shire, put it at Bilbo's place, and then we'll get back to our quest. I think it just depends on what you're doing. If you're on just an adventure and you're not really have any main goal in mind and you just came across this troll horde, yeah, you might do that. You might be like, you know what? We're going to go back to Waterdeep. We're going to get us a cart. We're going to haul this back. And you can kind of fast forward through a lot of that.
Yeah.
What do you think, Lyndon? I thought you were about to say something else, sir.
Well, I just think it really comes down to, I mean, as far as the whole lemonade stand RPG, to me, I don't understand how you guys are sitting there saying, I don't want to sit here and keep track of everything. I fired a shot. Okay, I kept track of it. I don't understand you guys acting like or talking like it's this huge feat to have little tally marks to keep track. Oh shit, I fired 20 arrows, I'm out of arrows. I must pull my sword even though I'm not as good with it. This has been a hell of a fucking fight. I need to do this.
Well, arrows is
That's-
one thing.
that's-
But
Arrows and
Little
bullets,
component.
I mean, that's the one, that was that point there. As far as going into like what Will was talking about there, it really does come down to the story of it, and that's where it really happens. You're not, I don't want to nickel and dime it, but okay, how many characters have you had where all of their money, quote unquote, in a fantasy setting has been carried in gold? Oh, you might try to upgrade it to platinum, but still you're carrying around
And then
300
cashier checks.
Yeah, 300 fucking coins.
American Express.
But no, you're carrying around 3,000 gold. That's a lot of fucking weight.
So the
And
answer
then-
is D&D needs credit cards.
Yes, exactly. IOUs like Lloyd and Harry.
Yeah, I
But-
mean, the only caveat I have about this is, and Frank probably can understand that, is horror games, survival horror games, depends on your resources, how much you have. If you're the GM and you want to instill that sense of fear and isolation, you can't have the characters loaded with stuff that can deal with every occasion, everything that can happen in the game. Because, okay, you guys are stranded in the forest. All right, I pull out my cell phone, and call for help. But
GPS.
you know
what this
or-
really, a lot of this sounds like to me too, is this
And just
actually.
as you do that, you see a satellite fall from the sky.
Yeah.
Oh, I have no signal.
No.
Damn.
That's the thing.
Can
You have
you hear
to
me now?
steal all their stuff. Really, that's
Yeah.
a cue from Powered by the Apocalypse games. But you have to have that sense of isolation and hopelessness.
Yeah.
If you're playing in a horror game, that's
Yeah.
the only place I could see where keeping track of things can make sense. But like Jamie said, the GM Fiat can just say, "Oh, you just ate your last meal," or "You just fired your last bullet." So now the monster's coming to get you. You got no more bullets. What do? Now you get scared. But if
Right
you
now you're down to
got
brass knuckles and
a loaded
lose.
AK-47, then
Yeah.
fuck it. I'm just gonna fire at the monster.
Well, it
But
depends
to
on
me
the
it-
setting. Sorry, go ahead, Lyndon.
To me, in that sense, right there, you're actually taking power away from the players. To where, what if you have the player whose character is very on top of everything? I always make sure I have plenty of arrows. I always make sure I have plenty of bullets, whatever. I make sure I am equipped with the weapons or whatever of of my choosing of what I use. Well, now the DM just gets to come in and say, "Oh no, you weren't equipped enough." Well, but I
Yeah, but
always
you're
make
playing
sure
a
I am.
horror game.
Oh,
You're
no,
playing a
no.
horror game.
Oh no, if you're talking about a horror game or a survival type game, yes, you keep track of everything. I don't think anybody would disagree with that.
Well,
that's
a
what I'm
huge
talking
part of it.
That's
Yeah,
what he was
pick up-
referencing
pick
with
up it-
survival horror.
Let's say you pick up a baseball bat, that's worth gold.
You know what this really sounds like to me? Because at first, I mean, we all have our opinions of it. Obviously, Lyndon sticks more to the need to keep track of all this shit. But it sounds going back to the previous question. This is really a session zero conversation. And the thing is, if you're running the game, there has to be consistency.
Yeah.
Because if you say today, no, you better track every fucking penny you have, and then next session you go, fuck it, whatever, let's just keep going. I'm very guilty of that as a GM, I know. But
Yeah.
I think that
But
there has to be discussed ahead of time on this is the type of game we're going to play, and the GM has to stick to his guns and be consistent about it.
Morgan.
Well,
Yeah, but
I look at when you look at Lord of the
Lyndon's
Rings.
barely got any credibility.
Hang on.
He's
Speaking of Lord of the Rings, Morgan, a wizard soloing a Balrog and then auto-raised with
Rezzed.
enough EXP to go to level 10. That's some bullshit.
But I was going to say in Lord of the Rings when Aragorn, Legolas, and Gimli run after the orcs that have Merry and Pippin, they didn't seem to have that much gear. They just had their weapons and armor and maybe strict necessary. If they were
Right.
a GM were running that, I don't think they were requiring. Okay, how much water do you have? How much food? Or
Right.
okay, well now you have to change your socks because they're worn out. And
You
know.
got swamp foot.
That's
Okay,
it. So,
start
but
going-
this was an epic heroic setting.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to worry about the gear. It's like
Right,
the
and
gear
you're right.
lasts
You're
as long
absolutely
as-
right, Stefan.
Okay, but
Aragorn
now-
hunts enough food for them off screen.
Right.
Exactly. That's the difference there. If you can do that type of stuff, then you don't need to worry about it. But if you have somebody, if you don't have somebody with you that can acquire food in the wilderness,
Oh, true.
then what's the difference there? The difference is Merry and Pippin are dead.
Yeah.
You will never catch up to them and save them. Cancel out the treants.
No, they
But-
didn't catch up to them. That's the thing. So
No, I know that, but
They're
if
called
it-
goddamn
Ants.
trees
Lyndon
walking
Trance
that
are in
movie.
Dungeons and Dragons.
okay,
it was
okay.
Riders of
Stupid.
Rohan who
Sorry.
held them out. So
I apologize to the dork world, but But no, if you're going on a rescue mission like that, if time is of the essence and you ain't got food, you got to waste time, or you're going to start going hungry and you're going to start slowing down.
Well, that's it. That may be one reason why they didn't catch up to them, and it's the riders of Rohan who killed all the orcs.
Yeah, but none of that is shown on screen. It all happens off screen, so that's why I said hand waving.
Yeah.
You
Well,
don't need to spend time doing it.
Well, it's
Well,
like
so
I
you don't
said
see-
in D&D 5e, there's the one background which I'm pretty sure Aragorn had. I can feed everybody. It's hand waved. It's off screen.
Well, that's it.
Yeah.
Either that or it's one roll of the D20 for survivor skill.
Okay, so we can conclude this by going back to what I said like 3 hours ago. Let's just use
No.
some common sense in this.
Yes, exactly.
Oh, common sense
All
is
right, moving
overrated.
on.
Yes, moving on. This was a question, and I've only ever personally come across this once. I don't know, Eric. To me, it was like I don't know. Maybe you have experience. I don't. How do you feel about couples in your group? I had one game of that, and it was Aunt and Joe. I was fine with it.
Yeah, it only happened to me a couple times, but I've heard really horror stories about some couples really,
I have
breaking
one
up,
story too, so go ahead, Eric.
just dissolving a whole campaign, killing a whole campaign because they were going through a divorce or that kind of stuff. So I was just wondering if anybody else has experienced the same.
I will.
Go ahead.
No, not even close.
Yeah, go ahead, Stephen.
Well, I had one experience. Like, some good friends of mine were in my campaign and running 3.5, I think. And
No, that's exactly what caused the problem.
That's why.
exactly, that's it.
Because we agree on synergies.
That's it. For all these years, I was wondering why. That's the reason. Thank you, guys. Moving on.
Lyndon, yeah, fuck you too, Lyndon.
Fuck you too, Lyndon, with your sexy hairy chest. Anyway, they were a couple, and it wasn't the interaction between
I
the
seen it
two.
too.
It wasn't the actual interaction between the two. It was one of the couple just had very indecisive. Just spent 4 rounds saying, "Well, I can't do anything." He
That must
won't
have been
see
the
me,
woman.
but- No, it was the guy actually.
Holy mo! What
So
the
I-
hell?
No, he didn't say
debated-
male or female. He said woman.
Yeah, no, it was a man and woman couple, straight couple, and
You missed the joke. I just called the dude a chick.
okay, sorry.
Good for you, Lyndon. Oh my God! Let's give this
One
guy
more
an
for you.
award.
Fucking
Go ahead, Steven.
HBO
Ignore that.
called. They want you to show up for a stand-up special this Sunday, Lyndon.
Jesus Christ.
Next time, install a pole.
Yeah.
No, so he spent 4 rounds of not doing anything. He's like, anyway, a nice enough guy, but not a great role player. So I just had to
It's-
tell him,
Steve,
like,
is-
unfortunately,
You think that's a couples thing, or he's just not a strong role player thing?
well, it was a couple, and it was an awkward situation because I had to let him out of the campaign and still game with her.
Oh wow.
So she was a good role player, but so a bit of a tension for a while, but it's been in the past now. It's not like I called him an idiot or anything. I just told him, as hard as it was, the truth that
You're out.
It's you're out. I mean, you spent 4 rounds not doing
you're-
anything, worried about a pretend character who might die. It's like, if he dies, he dies.
You know,
What?
I've heard of stories in the past
If he
before too.
dies, he dies.
That's it. It's fate.
I've heard of stories before too where it would be a couple in sessions or campaigns or whatever where one person in the relationship was like GMing and the other person was a player and everyone else at the table saw the obvious favoritism going on there and it created a lot of tension in the group too.
Give me that +1 sword, baby.
Yeah, it's like,
Yeah.
oh, you found a spike trap, but you found a Vorpal sword,
Oh, that
Oh,
reminds me
Jesus
of-
Christ. If my wife came with us, you just fell off a cliff. Oh,
That
sorry.
does remind me
Go watch the
actually
kids.
of that does remind me of one little horror game where I was a player, and the GM had his girlfriend as one of the fellow players as well, and she was trying to just negotiate about gaining a Holy Avenger for her paladin, and all she said was, "Oh, the guy seemed a little bit weird, like, oh, you don't want this sword? No, I don't want this sword. And as soon as she says, I don't want this sword, oh, well, then I'll give it to you. Yeah, that's just one way of saying, I want you to have the Vorpal Sword or the Holy Avenger +5 for, let's say, a 3rd level character. Right. No favoritism there at all.
I'm sorry, I take that back. There was another. It was a live play we did on the Dorks too when we played Age of Rebellion. Mike, from Pathfinder Podcast, and his girlfriend Cicely. I forgot we played with them too, also. But I think the different dynamic that happened between them is they game together a lot. So I think that trust.
That was the kinks.
Well, the trust was already there. They've probably already been through the ropes as far as comfortability, group dynamic, as far as equality and things like that, and they did really well together. So I think it can work, but I could see where it could create big problems.
Yeah. If a couple doesn't communicate in advance, I guess, or there's no favoritism, or there's favoritism, it has to be worked out, because then you'll lose players. Like, okay, well, fine, play with your girlfriend. You might as well just go in the bedroom and finish giving her your XP.
Yeah.
Take your D20 to see how much you're going to get, bud.
That's it.
Shit. Do I need to say it?
What?
If you get into that situation, you just need to have an adult conversation
for
about
fuck's
it.
sake. All right, yeah, whatever. All right, moving on.
Not the adult conversation.
Moving on. My opinion has also changed on this one, and I saw the message there, Eric. What is a good length of playtime for a session?
Have an adult conversation and figured it out.
Okay, so moving on to the next question.
3 hours tops. There you go.
Dude, I'm almost there too. 3 to 4 hours. Like
4 hours, yeah.
I'm good because, like, Lyndon, the last one he and I played, I think we did like 7.5 hours, and my brain was fried, dude.
Yeah, I played yesterday with my Shine Tar campaign. 4
like
hours,
a simple answer.
4.5 was fine.
Find your players' limits. Don't go past that.
Yeah.
I don't have the stamina I used to have anymore. GM, I get really involved in GMing. The pacing.
Yep.
They
Yeah.
make pills for that.
I used to be.
Yeah, now that you're in America, you might be able to get them.
Yeah, in Mexico.
Get it back.
Do it to
little-
music. That'll
Yeah.
hit the rhythm.
That little blue pill, right?
That's it.
Seriously, I just think about 3 to 4 hours. Three is the sweet spot for me, with a break in between, to get everybody to focus. More than 3 or 4 hours, people start losing focus. I mean, you can't expect people.
Especially late in the evening.
Yeah.
I usually game on Sundays, but 1 to 4, 1 to 5, more or less. If I'm really prepared and I've got stuff, we're all in the mood. Okay, we'll push it to 6 o'clock. But my last game, okay, this is a good place to stop it. I'm not quite prepared for the next scene, so okay, sure, 4 hours is good. So.
And with that, Eric, I do have to.
Moving on.
I know you have to go. We're gonna go ahead and cut it here. We still had a few more topics on the agenda, but we're gonna go ahead and pick that up on the next episode. So let's get over and wrap this shit up.
What now? What now? Let me tell you what now.
Okay, that's going to do it for episode 70. Again, we did have a few more things on the show notes, but we're already at... we try to keep this at about the 90-minute mark, and Eric has to go, so I'm going to blame him. No matter what, I'm blaming Eric.
The new
Blame
American.
Eric. Everybody but Eric can say it's your fault.
Yeah, the new American fucking guy.
I can take it.
No, he just became an American, so now he's lazy. He doesn't want to keep going.
I'm entitled.
So there you go. There's episode 70. I hope everybody enjoyed the show. Eric, Stefan, thank you very much for joining us. Chat room, thank you for joining us. We didn't give a shout out to the chat room. Sorry for the delay tonight. I blame Canadian internet, but
It was me, eh?
yep.
A bit slow, eh?
But thank you guys both very much for joining us tonight. Coming up, the next show will be on June 20th. So I think that's 2 weeks from today. And hopefully by then I may have an update on teaching my 2 little shitheads you guys saw come in here some Savage Worlds or something or another. I still have a toss up on what exactly it is I want to teach them how to play, but I should
Good
have
luck
an
on
update.
Well, I have Lyndon teach him 3.5.
No.
Don't
Their
their
ears to bleed.
You know I can.
They would go home to their
Without
mother.
a book.
They would go home to their mother like with like some crazy neck twitch or something. I can't send them home that way. So
The bad man made me roll some dice.
yeah, it was the bad silverback.
Hey, you're starting to make me sound really bad here.
You know that we'd have to put him down if that was the case, Jamie.
That's okay. You're really cute, Lyndon.
Yeah, if
Whoa!
if
I disagree with that opinion. Let's talk about this.
Fuck you, Neo.
Well, the camera's really low res anyway. So
there you go.
Oh God, Neo! I thought that it wasn't allowed near kids. Yeah, there's a restraining order in the state.
No, if he gets around kids, they have to shoot him and put him out of his misery. He is the gorilla that the kid fell into his pen.
No tranquilizer.
No tranquilizer. Just
Won't
kidding,
work on
Lyndon.
him.
We love you, and you're a good daddy. We're giving you shit.
I'm not kidding.
So, again, join us on the 20th. And Frank, your Call of Cthulhu session should hopefully be wrapping up here within a week or so. And then hopefully we have something to offer to the audiences in the form of a live play again. I'm sure some of the listeners out there are looking forward to that. Yeah. Say, you like popsicles?
I don't think we were taking that angle with Lyndon. It was more of the dangerous.
Okay, look what Neo Destiny put in chat.
You might break your legs, not rape you.
No, Neo in chat. He kind of got that old man bathrobe thing going.
Oh, yeah. The Little League World Series. Jackpot!
yeah, just don't get up, Lyndon.
Yeah. So, again,
He probably said there with no shorts or underwear on. Just
no, sit.
I told you it's fucking hot.
TMI.
Yeah, when he stands up, it's going to sound like Velcro. So, again, be sure to join us on June 20th, and we're going to have some more beers and talk shit. Again, Eric, Stefan, thank you very much for joining us. This is Jamie saying, grab some beers, grab some friends, and make it one hell of a game night.
this is Will saying you're all sick bastards. All of you.
This is Lennon saying, have an adult conversation and get over it.
Frank, you got anything?
No, not really. Sorry.
Exactly. Eric or Stefan, you guys want any type of sign off before we get out of here?
Well,
Yeah,
thanks for
welcome to
having
Dark
us.
Mart. Get your shit and get out.
Did you have something there, Eric?
Yeah, I said thanks for having us, and I have fun playing the Lemonade Stand RPG. And,
Let's all play GURPS Friends.
Yep. All right, we will see you guys for episode 71.
Goodbye, goodbye. Wipe the tear, baby dear, from your eye. Though it's hard to part, I know. I'll be tickled to death to go. Don't cry, don't sigh. There's a silver lining in the sky. Bonsoir, old thing, cheerio, chin chin, na poo toodaloo, goodbye.